So I've had the Nothing earphones for about 6 months now, so it's time for this long-term review. And one thing that checks out along with my original review was the worry about the scratching, and they have scratched up pretty badly on the lower part of the case. I'll show you a bit of B-roll just so you know how badly scratched these are. But the rest of the case has fared reasonably well. The top of the case obviously hasn't scratched up too much because I don't put it down on the front. This has been in and out of my pocket a few times, so there are a few scratches, but it's definitely not as bad as the lower part of the case. The earphones are holding up pretty well. They still look as good as new. The silicone tips are as comfortable as they were. I don't really have an issue with these when it comes to the build of these, except of course for the case scratching up so badly at the back. So one thing I did maybe a month and a half after getting my earphones was I swapped them with a friend of mine because he had the exact same pair and he was having a few issues with them, so I decided to check it out. The issue was that they kept pausing his media, so I think the in-ear detection was working overtime. It seemed to work okay with me, but maybe it was an issue with him because his ear shape might be a bit different. So that's something to keep in mind. If you have this issue, you can switch off the in-ear detection and it should stop pausing your media for no reason. But the weirder thing that's happened with this is whenever I let the case die out, so let's say I let it charge up the earphones to about 100% and the case is at maybe 20, 10% or even 0. Whenever I plug it into charge, it's just completely flat. It's completely dead. It's unresponsive. I've put it on a wireless pad. It doesn't respond. I've plugged it in to recharge it. It doesn't say anything. So I figured, okay, maybe it's really dead. Leave it plugged in for about 15-20 minutes and it should recover. I did that. I came back to the case maybe 2 hours later and it was still completely flat. So there I was thinking it's time to call Nothing, but I got caught up with something else. So I came back to it later and it did start charging it quite randomly. But this has happened to me more than a few times. But I have had a few issues with these. For one, the audio tends to drop off, well, not too often, maybe once every 15 or 20 minutes when I'm absorbing content, be it audio or video. It's almost as if it just shifts over to one side. It starts disconnecting from one earbud and shifts over to the other. And there's absolute silence for about a second until it resumes again. I have heard that some people have the same issue, but they don't have it as badly as some others. Some people it keeps happening more regularly, like maybe every 5 minutes. Mine isn't too bad, it's about every 20 minutes, but there are times when it doesn't happen at all. Something I did mention on my original review was that if you do want to stretch the call time with these earphones, it's worthwhile using them one at a time instead of both, because these do tend to eat into a lot of battery considering there's that ENC working in the background. So I did recommend using one at a time, but something I did realize fairly recently, in fact, while I was at my desk taking a few calls, was that my right earbud beeped saying that its battery was low. So I went into the app and checked. It said it was at about 20%. So I put it back in the case and reached for the other earbud that was at 100. So then after I finished talking, I checked the app again and the earbud that was in the case still said it was at about 20%, which was quite bizarre. So then I did close the case just to see if this was, well, I think this is how it works because I haven't really tested something like this on any other earphone. But I think these only charge when the case is closed. So this is something to keep in mind when you're trying to stretch that call time. Close the case if you want the earbuds to charge. If it's open, they are not going to charge. Of all the earphones I've ever reviewed, Nothing is the only brand that has had regular software updates maybe every few weeks. I think since I've had these have gone through quite a few updates. In fact, the latest update that I got just last week was that it's got voice assistant. So the few people out there who do not want these specific earphones just because they don't have voice assistant, good news for you, it does have voice assistant. It's not something that I usually use, so I've not really missed it. One thing to keep in mind though with voice assistance is once you update the software and you have it, should you want to activate voice assistance while pressing and holding it, you can't. There's no option. The only thing you can have it on is at a triple tap, not even a double or a press and hold. So hopefully Nothing will give the options in the future to customize even this setting where you can maybe press and hold it to activate the voice assistance. Now something that's left me really impressed, somebody did leave a comment down below in my last Nothing review saying that they needed to go to the service center but couldn't, so Nothing sent somebody across to collect the earphones. Now I didn't believe this, of course, until one of my friends told me the very same thing. He had an issue where one of the earbuds just stopped working entirely and he called them and they said, here's the catch, If you want a replacement soon enough, I think within 1 or 2, maybe 3 days, I'm not too sure about that, but if you want a replacement soon enough, you have to go to an authorized service center. If you don't have an authorized service center near you, or if you don't have the time to go to one, you can always call up Nothing, and apparently they do send somebody over across to collect your earphones. The catch being, you will not get that replacement too quickly. It might take a little longer, maybe a week, maybe two, but it will be done with somebody coming and dropping it off. Now that is impressive, and it's not something I've heard anybody else do in the industry. Otherwise, the way these things sound, I don't think my opinion has really changed about them since my original in-depth review. They still sound very good for what they're worth, and I use them as my daily drivers. I'm using them every day, especially to wind down. I absorb my audio and my video content just before going to bed, and these are able to come to a very low volume. So I do listen to the audio at about 10% volume, which is actually pretty low, and you'd think that you'd lose a lot of maybe lower mids and bass, but it stays pretty strong even at that volume. There's no real need to crank it up to listen to those frequencies. There's no loss of that frequency range even at a lower volume, which is quite impressive for these. So would I still recommend the Nothing Ear Ones even after 6 months of use? Considering they are still going for about 5,999, that's $6,000 here in India, and you also get the black version now, so you've got that option to get white or black. I'd like to see how those look actually. I'd say they're pretty well worth their price. It's a good build, it's good quality, and at the same time, the fact that they're able to give you this kind of support even with their first generation product is close to unbelievable. For Nothing, this is the start to hopefully a much larger future for them. So they are very particular about all of their customers being very happy. But if you ask me, I'd say yes, they're definitely worth going for $6,000. Of course, if you have any questions about these and I can help you in any way make a better decision, feel free to leave a comment down below. I do go through all the comments, and if I have the time, I will reply to them. And thank you for tuning into Paul's POV for some sound advice. So I'm listening to media at about maybe 10%.